What's up, everybody? Welcome to another show. Today, I have very special guests who I've known longer than anyone, really, besides my parents. It is my brother, JP Tooke. JP, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. So, a lot of you, if you're a student here, you know JP. He's always at the front. He's the one that meets new students the first time that they come in. You rarely will see him, in class, but you always see him at the school working. And wanted to give everybody a chance to get to know him a little bit, talk about how he got involved at Team Tooke Mixed Martial Arts Academy, what he was doing before that, and what martial arts has kind of, meant to his life up until this point. It's a great story, and I'm excited to share with you guys. So tell him a little bit about kind of what did you have going on before you started working at the school?
Well,
not like from birth, just a little bit
right.
Before that.
Like all my jobs, or just prior to?
Yeah, just
here?
what you had going on. What were some of your plans and goals leading, before you got involved here?
When I was a teenager, I had big ambitions to be in a famous metal band.
How famous?
That was the main goal, but I didn't really, I guess ambitious isn't the right word. I just wanted to be in a metal band to play live shows and have a great time. That's kind of my main focus for a long time, is just playing guitar a lot. And then I started playing drums later, and that's just kind of what I wanted to do, and everything sort of revolved around that. I worked at a music store called Music Go Round, which unfortunately is no longer open.
You gotta speak real close.
That's a bummer. Oh, okay. Then I actually taught guitar and drums for probably about a year, I guess, maybe a little bit longer, at a place called Six Strings Music Academy. I was not athletic at all. I was athletic for most of my life, but for a while during all the music stuff, I wasn't. I was chubby as a kid. Then I became pretty athletic, like in middle school, and when Team Tooke started in our dad's garage, which was called Definitive Martial Arts at the time, in case you guys didn't know that.
Little known fact.
Yeah. Then I was like crazy about Jiu-Jitsu for a few months, and then I wasn't crazy about it. And so then everything just kind of revolved around the music stuff, and that's all I wanted to do. And I wanted to be a music teacher, and I did that for a while, and it was cool. I gained a lot of weight. I was pretty lazy, and then you and Miguel owns Team Tooke Cyprus. I think just asked me if I wanted to go on a trip with you guys, a business trip.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say who hosted that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
You can say anything you want.
Lloyd Irvin, MMA. That was the event we went to. You never really know what people have been through unless they open up and talk to you about it, which that happens a lot on the first day, and I'm not really prepared sometimes to hear some things that people tell me.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's kind of a cool thing, that they feel comfortable enough to share these things with me. But I've heard a lot of crazy, crazy things that people have gone through after talking to someone, and meeting them for the first time within the first 10 minutes.
Right.
And I'm hearing just some crazy, crazy stories.
Well, I think some people they're just ready to let everything out because they've reached a point in their lives where some of the solutions to their problems have not been met with other options that they've tried.
Right.
And so now they're sort of opening up. And I think when you say, well, you're not expecting it, but that comes with having a demeanor about you that's open, and people feel comfortable enough to share that.
Right.
And I think it's so important that when you're meeting with somebody, that they can really feel that you're interested in them. You're interested in finding a solution to their problem and helping them and showing them why this is going to be beneficial to them. And instead of just showing all the features of what we have in the school and everything, but actually showing them how this is going to change their life moving forward. And we mentioned something a moment ago. I wanted to touch on the idea that martial arts was created for battle, because it was. You had ancient warriors who fought each other, and human beings have been fighting each other since we were nomadic people, since we were hunter-gatherers. It's a natural part of being human. And over time, we've become more civilized, and we formed societies. But what these ancient martial arts tradition found was that in order to become the most effective soldier, really required you to become a more disciplined individual. And so those are the lessons that have been passed down to now, where the only fighting that hopefully we ever have to get into is in the form of competition. And whereas, where you can go out and you can compete, and you can, if it's mixed martial arts, you might be punching and kicking each other, but you're going to hug each other when it's over. We've removed this element of greed. I'm taking over your land, or I'm here to take your village, or I'm here to, it's no longer about power and personal gain. It's about individual growth. And that can happen if I tap you out or if you tap me out. We can both learn from this situation.
I wouldn't tap you out.
Huh?
I wouldn't tap you out, so only one of us would be learning there.
Huh? Well, that can happen. No, because we both learn. I tap you out, and I learn that I'm awesome. And you get tapped out, and you learn.
We both learn either way.
Less awesome.
Who's getting the better lesson here, though?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that now.
Everyone learns. So anyway, I wanted to, because I think that's an important point when I try to tell people what jiu-jitsu is and then what it's going to do for them. The ideas seem to conflict with one another. Well, you're going to grab someone who's going to grab you. You're going to try to throw them on the ground while they're trying to do that to you. You're going to try to get to a position that is dominant and very uncomfortable to them. And then with your arms, legs, and body, you're going to use it to put them into a position that threatens injury or unconsciousness. And when you're done, you're going to think it's the most awesome feeling in the world, right? So to explain jiu-jitsu verbally is quite the challenge, I would say. To explain okay, well, this is what it is, but it's cool.
It's kind of better to hold off on the explanation of it and just kind of throw them right into it.
Yeah,
because then they're distracted with, it's kind of like flight or fight mode at that point.
Yeah,
they're just kind of distracted, and they're like, I'm okay with this really, really close encounter with you in these awkward positions, and it kind of makes sense now. But the feeling that you get when you're done with that is like, wow, that is totally awesome. Now I'm okay with this. Whereas if you explained it, hey, you're going to get in between my legs and I'm going to squeeze you and you're not going to be able to do anything. And if you just showed somebody the position, it's like, no, don't want to do that. I want to do striking now.
Right.
But if they just jump right into it, they get that feeling of connecting with somebody mentally and physically. Because, I mean, you're trying to beat each other. You're having to think so much. That type of connection is really impossible to replicate with any other type of activities.
Yeah, and what I say too is when you actually learn how to apply these techniques and you do one, you get your first submission or your choke, that's something that moment you'll remember forever. Like that's something where you're like, whoa, I've got this power. I really have this power. I can do this, and I can do it to somebody stronger than me or bigger or faster than me because I know something that they don't know. Then somebody passing your guard or choking you or armbarring you becomes an educational process. Now it's about, I want to see how they did that. I want to know what they're doing better than me so that I can add that to my game. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see the transformation of people. When you first meet with, because you meet with a lot of people, and there are varying levels of confidence and concern when these people walk through the door. What would you say when talking to parents? What's the number one concern of parents with their kids? Why are parents bringing their kids in?
Discipline and self-defense. Those are the two most frequent benefits that parents want for their kids.
So when they come in and they ask about that, does it typically involve? And so those aren't just random. You said you kind of narrowed those down. That means that obviously these are things that are lacking. Is bullying something that a lot of parents are concerned
bullying
with?
is a big one. Whether they are getting bullied or bully prevention, because parents are hearing about things that are happening to other kids, or watching the news way too much, right? So thank you for the news for all the negativity, because it scares people into wanting to do martial arts. It also paints a really ugly picture of how bad the world is, which it's really not at all. But it's beneficial to us, right? Because people come here like, oh my God, Fox News says that things are getting bad and people are being mean to each other. It's like,
it's true.
People have always been mean to each other. They're less mean now than they ever have been. That's my opinion, at least. I'm sure most people don't view it that way, but...
Well, I think when you said it, you said it correctly. There's no new problems. There are new ways to distribute fear. It's like
exactly.
There are always ways to show that the world is horrible. But if you look at the good that's happening, there's plenty of good. And back to, you kind of made a joke like, oh, the media promotes fear and that brings people in. And
right. Well, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it does. Some people
so many people, I mean, I think even yesterday I had someone say, I really want them to arm themselves a little bit, have a little bit of self-defense and awareness, because you know how the world's getting these days.
Yeah.
As if, someone our age knows what the world was like to live in 50 or 60 years ago. Like we say it so nonchalantly.
500 years ago.
Nowadays it's way worse, 100 years ago when we were growing up and we were fighting over our sword or something like that. And
yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the world. You could say things aren't getting better, but they're not. Sure. They're not getting worse in terms of violence. What you have is you just have a world full of a lot of different types of people. You have
and more ways to find out about it.
You have bad people. You have more things publicized. I think to kind of run an idea, you said people coming in because they're afraid, but they stay because of the camaraderie and the friendships and the relationships that they form while they're here. Because the reality is, if somebody comes in, I want to come in and I want to do 6 weeks of martial arts to learn some basic self-defense. They're not really going to learn anything that they get to keep with them for the rest of their lives. They need more training than that. But within a couple of years, you can learn some very realistic, competent self-defense skills that you will take with you, but people stay longer than that. And although we like the belts and we like the promotion, we have goals, it's really about this daily environment, this growing and improving every single day, trying to get 1% better a day. And that's something that we can't always explain to people on day one. Hey,
right.
Let me fast forward your life.
Yes.
Almost like showing them a crystal ball of how they're going to be in 4 years, what kind of changes they're going to make. We have to just focus on their primary concern, the discipline, the self-defense, confidence, those things.
Yeah, you have to start with solving their problem first.
Right.
And yeah, just like you said, that's kind of why they get involved, but they don't stay for those reasons.
Yeah.
5 years later, they're not saying, oh, I can't wait to keep learning more about self-defense, because even 5 years or 10 years. Well,
that's part of it.
True.
You keep learning new moves.
It's awesome, but I mean, most people aren't using this stuff either. They're staying
unless they're doing like competition,
unless they're competing,
or training,
right?
Which is with the people,
with the exception of police officers and security. Some people have been in private security or some form of law enforcement where it's beneficial to them, and their superiors actually recommended them doing this.
Right.
I had someone the other day who was kind of competing for a security role, and kind of whoever had the most martial arts credentials was most likely going to be the one that was.
Oh, so it was a career benefit.
It was.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of it. But like you're saying, people, they stay because of the people and the culture and their personal growth and getting to help others grow as well.
I know.
Because it's kind of a selfish thing to begin with. I'm doing this for me.
Sure.
To arm myself and to become more disciplined, and to boost my confidence.
When it comes to self-defense, the longer you've been training in jiu-jitsu, the higher your ability to defend yourself and protect yourself in a real street altercation or fight. And I've been asked before, like how long you've been doing jiu-jitsu? Well, over 20 years. And when was the last time, you had to use it, like in a fight? Not in a tournament or in class, but in an actual fight. So the last time I was in a real fight, I was 14, which was before I started doing jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Because the idea of getting into a fight is so much less appealing when you have the confidence that you need to actually win that fight. There's no more desire to want to get into it. And that becomes a part of it when you're younger, this ability to feel like you have to prove yourself, or you have to, I think that's sometimes why there are people that pursue these engagements, bullies, because it's an attractive idea. If I can be dominant over another person, that kind of puts me at a higher level in the hierarchy.
Right.
But when
go ahead.
Well, when you have the confidence, you're already kind of at that level, and so now you can enjoy the good feelings of being nice to someone, or sticking up for someone who's maybe not in that position, who's maybe being bullied. You can be the one to stand up for them, and it changes everything. Not just your skill set, but your actual, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way that you respond, the way that you face fear and challenges. You do it with this belief that you're going to overcome it, even if you don't have the confidence for whatever that particular task is. You have inner confidence.
Absolutely.
And that is going to express itself in anything that you try to do.
Yeah, and that's so much more fulfilling and real and rewarding than winning a alcohol-induced street fight with somebody in which you have no idea what the other person is capable of. I think that they talked about, I mean, I'm sure I've heard this in a few places, but it was actually on Joe Rogan podcast too, where he was blown away, which I'm sure you are as well, just blown away by people who have never trained in martial arts, by their crazy amount of confidence to just get in a fight with a total stranger.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
That one, or listening to that one too.
Because if they win, it's just going to inflate their unhealthy ego to a different level, and that's just going to be horrible.
Yeah, I'm to the point now that I feel confident, if anything were to happen, and it would be very difficult to happen. You would have to threaten me.
Yeah, good for you, but I didn't ask that. But if they won that fight, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we're going to edit
I want to hear about that too. But you laughed. So if they win that fight, it's just going to blow up their unhealthy ego that much more. Oh. If they lose, it's going to wreck their ego.
Yeah.
Right? And also,
I would disagree with that. I say they would just do it again, because
probably.
If you,
maybe it's very temporary.
Yeah, that just means don't fight that person.
Sure,
they're gonna beat me up. I'll go.
Or they'll make excuses as to why they lost.
Yeah,
but it's also crazy too that people will do that, not having a clue of the other person's intentions, not knowing that person's character whatsoever. And you have no idea if they're going to pull out a weapon on you, but they're still so confident in getting into a fight, and that just blows my mind that people will do that. But like you were saying, too,
I wonder how much of it is confidence and how much of it is fear that causes them to to do it,
or influenced by their peers or whoever they're with. I mean, there's so many factors that lead up to why they do that. I forget where I heard this, but people behave in general totally different when they're alone versus when they're around their friends, especially teenagers the most, right? You'll have a teenager who's great behavior, great relationship with their parents, makes good grades, makes a lot of good choices.
Right.
And then they're with their peers and they do the stupidest crap ever and make horrible decisions. But it's all influenced by their peers, and that's why peer pressure is such a powerful thing. Which, kind of going back to this whole character development thing with martial arts, gives people immunity to negative peer pressure.
Right. Every teenager is going to experience peer pressure. Well, I mean, all age groups,
everybody,
really, but
no matter what,
at that peak hormonal time of change is when you're most vulnerable,
and your friends are that's the most important thing.
Absolutely, it's everything is about,
you have like blinders on to everything.
And I remember feeling the same way, and luckily didn't make any decisions that were life altering. you see a lot of teenagers that will drink and drive when they're 16 or just engage in very dangerous behavior. And I remember being young, and having that kind of fearless mentality.
Right.
But I was still attached to the goal of doing martial arts. And so that would keep me from engaging in certain reckless behavior. I still had the thoughts and I still had the friends that wanted to do that, but it was these lessons that I had learned from martial arts tied to a goal of actually getting good at martial arts and pursuing that path that sort of steered me away from making some, more poor decisions than I otherwise would have. Yeah, I really think the impact that it can have on kids leading into those teenage years, especially when life doesn't play out as smoothly as it ought to, which it almost never does. You have divorce,
for most people.
You have people that get in trouble, you have introduction to drugs and alcohol, you have a lot of challenges that come your way, from the time you're a child into teenage years and then into adulthood. And by the time you get to adulthood and it's time to go into the workforce, if you don't have some of these lessons ingrained in who you are and guiding your better decision making, life can be pretty damn hard, know? So I just wanted to talk a little bit because I know you have to hear these stories all the time, and it's kind of tough to wrap up into one episode because there are so many unique challenges among parents and students who are, adults who want to improve their quality of life when they come in. The way that you talk and listen to them is really one of the most important aspects of being a great leader is really listening. And you do a lot of that. I gripe at you sometimes because I'm like, JP, you took too long with that person, but then I don't know what the conversation is, and you've built a relationship where now that person feels, for better or worse, comfortable texting you at like 3 a.m. to share their feelings. But I mean, that says a lot about that.
Yeah, and in turn has just improved my life so much too. Talking to those people about
share that a little bit. Like, what has it meant to make those connections? Being an introverted person, I feel like I'm the same way, although I have to be extroverted around people. Someone who's naturally introverted, having to meet brand new people every day and try to make a strong connection in a little over an hour.
Yeah, I mean, even after, I guess it's coming up on about 10 years of working here and doing this, I still have that moment of like seeing the new person come in where I'm just like, crap, here we go again. I don't want to do this. I want to be alone right now because that's a comfortable place, which is the worst place to be. Not everybody, but we all love our comfort zones, and I think the majority of people probably could use a little bit less of that. Everybody, yeah. I mean, we could definitely use less of it, but we chase that a lot, and there's always this kind of, grind it out at work, but I can't wait to get home. It's always like I'm looking at the end of the day, can't wait to get home to be comfortable and be in my happy place, and you're never truly present, and when you can really be truly present, even with a total stranger that you weren't necessarily looking forward or overly excited to meet, but when you can do that, what I have found just personally, and I know for so many other people, that's one of the most important places to be as much as possible. And there's been times, where I'll go 3 or 4 days without meeting any new people because they just don't come in, or that's really it. They don't show up. People cancel their appointments all the time, probably due to being terrified to come in because it's MMA and they think that they're going to have to prove themselves, which people tell me that on the first day. And some people come in and their very first experience was that they had to prove themselves, and that sucks to hear that.
You're talking about if they went to
somewhere else, XYZ MMA, and they threw him in the octagon on their very first day, and it's like, hey, welcome to our academy. Let's see what you got. Like, I mean, I've had plenty of people tell me that.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable that they're giving it another chance after going through something like that. I hate hearing those stories. It's ridiculous that anybody would do that to them. But yeah, just kind of going back to meeting with new people where I don't necessarily feel like it, or I've gone a few days without doing it, and then I do it, and if I have several of them back to back, especially where we connect a lot, we have great conversation, they've opened up, I'll even, open up a little bit and share some of my past. Then when I'm done with that and I'm back into my comfort zone all of a sudden feels a little uncomfortable because it's idle time and my mind is kind of going into what are some instant gratification, fun things I can do to fill these next 3 minutes with, or 5 minutes, just total crap stuff, crap dialogue going through your mind. And after being around people consistently, just, like let's say in one day I meet with 4 new people, that's what I want to keep doing.
Yep.
Which is usually the last thing that I want to do, is meet new people and talk to them and entertain what they want to talk about. But when I do it enough, it's kind of reversed. Like, that's what I want to do now. Up with these excuses, which I do myself to not do it. But then when you finally do experience it, you can get to that point where you realize that interacting with people, whether you've known them for 10 years or it's the very first day, is the most overall therapeutic thing that you can do, regardless of your goals with martial arts. Even if you never compete, you're never going to use it outside of here. And even if you're not like an MMA nerd, you go in for the people and you go in to connect with people. And that's where people benefit from this overall the most. Even UFC fighters, I think, even UFC champions, if you ask them the same question like I was mentioning a little while ago, if someone offered them $10 million but they had to trade in their UFC belts, their coaches, their relationships, everything they've learned along the way, I think all of them would say no, because that made them who they are, right? And in many, many ways, doing this for the past 10 years has made me into who I am, which I think is a completely different person than was initially projected if I had just kept doing what I was doing prior to working here. Right? So it's been a character developmental process for me working here, which is what I talk about to people,
right,
just as much as it has for a 4-year-old or somebody in their 60s or 70s.
Well, I agree too. I think it's ongoing education forever. We don't reach that point where we know it all and now we just share. It's like you don't reach a point of black belt where you know it all and now you just teach. You still have to continue to learn and get better, and that's what's great about this whole process, is it allows you to continue that while allowing other people who you meet to be introduced to this great world. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. This is JP Tooke. Make sure you come by, say hello, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. See ya. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that, please be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to share this video with somebody else. Thank you.